Hey, this is C&D channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for UFC 187, Cormier versus Johnson, which happens on May 23rd. Overall, this is despite losing John Jones versus Anthony Johnson, the replacement fight they got for it is very, very good. And the whole card, I mean, you did also lose Khabib Nurmagomedov against Cerrone. Nonetheless, still a very strong card, top to bottom. Even the Fight Pass prelims are really good. You have Justin Scoggins, he's a really good prospect. Islam Makhachev, I think that's how you pronounce it. He's a very good prospect. Colby Covington is a really good prospect against a veteran in Mike Pyle. Namajunas is fighting Uriah, Stun Gun, Burkman, Dodson, Makovsky, and those are on the Fox Sports 1 prelims. Main card: Joseph Benavidez, Moraga, Browne, Travis Browne, Andrei, Arlovski, Cerrone, Makdessi. It's actually still a fun action fight there. Weidman versus Belfort and Johnson Cormier. This is a very good card. Looking forward to it a lot. Let's get started. In the main event, we have Daniel Cormier versus Anthony Rumble Johnson. Johnson has a 19-4 record, 13 wins by KO or TKO, 6 wins by decision. He also has 3 losses by submission. 31 years old. He's going to be the taller fighter at 6'2". He's on a 9-fight win streak and trains out of the Black Zillions. He's a strong kickboxer and becoming a really strong counter striker as well. His wrestling's really good, especially his takedown defense has gotten a lot better. But he can also, if need be, he'll also throw the double leg takedown if he needs to. He lately hasn't needed to, as kickboxing has been just some of the best in the division. He has legit one strike KO power, because he can also not just knock out his opponents with punches but also kicks. He's still a question mark off of his back, though. You know, like in the past, you know, he'd be put on his back, but this is at like welterweight, and he's like a fish out of water. You know, that's most of his losses have been by submission. Once again, how much can we contribute that to him just being bad off his back, or how much can we contribute that to not having sufficient cardio by cutting so much weight and just unable to really scramble or do much off his back? Daniel Cormier, 15-1 record, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub, 36 years old. He's made a shorter fighter at 5'11", trains out of AKA. He's an Olympic level wrestler. Stand-up is solid. He does have good top control. He's strong in the clinch. He has shown a weakness to body kicks, though. He's going to see it in like anywhere from the Frank Mir fight. I think John Jones was hitting him with a couple body kicks as well. It's a slight observation I noticed from Cormier. I mean, this is really a fight that's contingent on what you think will happen. You know, I think skill set wise, we pretty much have an idea of what they both bring. There isn't too many subtle things I can mention that some guys have. I will say this with Anthony Rumble Johnson. And actually, I believe it was Luke Thomas and MMA Fighting pointed this out. If you shoot like doubles or singles on him, he's hard to take down, and most of the time that he gets taken down is from the clinch, from what I heard. Is his observation. And Cormier does do a lot of takedowns from the clinch. I feel that Johnson is getting a lot better at keeping fights at his range, especially with his power. He'll also utilize a very good weapon against wrestlers. He'll utilize the uppercut. Uses it to great effect against wrestlers. He also has a way of making fighters pay. You can see it in Phil Davis' fight for shooting sloppy takedowns. And the fact that he knocked out Gustafsson shows me that he can just knock out anyone. I mean, no matter how good John Jones's chin was, or Daniel Cormier's chin is, I think it's safe to say that he can knock him out. And this fight really comes down to whether one thinks that Cormier. I don't think Cormier beats Johnson on the feet. I think Johnson wins that battle. It depends if Cormier can wrestle Johnson, use his severe top control, possibly even pass to a dominant position, and maybe even get a submission like a rear naked choke or something like that. Or if Johnson gets the KO or TKO on Daniel Cormier. I'm going to ride on that. Anthony Rumble Johnson, KO or TKO on Daniel Cormier. I think his counter striking's good. The height differential should help Johnson. The use of the uppercut should thwart off a good amount of Cormier's takedown attempts. In my opinion, I think he can keep him at. Johnson should be able to keep Cormier at range. Cormier was already training to fight Bader in a 5-round fight, so despite this being short notice, I don't feel that it is it's not short notice in the sense of when he began training. He was already training for a fight just a couple weeks later. Cardio-wise, I'd go with Cormier, though. Johnson's pacing, though, has been a lot better than it used to be. With that said, like I said, Anthony Rumble Johnson, KO or TKO to win the vacant UFC light heavyweight title. Next fight after that, Chris Weidman fights Vitor Belfort. Chris Weidman, 12-0. And this is for the UFC middleweight title. Weidman is 12-0, undefeated. He has 5 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He's 30 years old. He is actually the taller fighter at 6'2". He trains out of Cerrone, and he is a UFC middleweight champion. He is big for 185. I mean, the guy is like huge for the weight class. He's a strong wrestler. He has really strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. I keep mentioning it, but like, if he wanted to, because he actually did a Jiu-Jitsu match with Galvão and did really well. I mean, if he ever went the like pure Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu circuit, he probably would have been arguably one of the top Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners out there. He was also recently awarded his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. If that's under Matt Serra, that's actually pretty hard to get. He has a strong front headlock series. In stand-up, he is a pressure fighter. He's always in his opponent's face. He's a strong boxer that uses combinations. Vitor Belfort, 24-10 record, 17 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by KO or TKO and 2 losses by submission. He's 38 years old. He's going to be the shorter fighter at 6 foot. He's on a 3-fight win streak, training out of the Black Zillions. He last fought in November 2013 against, was it Bisping? Did he knock out last? He was on this like crazy streak of knocking out like Dan Henderson, Luke Rockhold, and Michael Bisping. He is a former UFC light heavyweight champion with strong kickboxing, real heavy-handed, and he can also knock you out with kicks and knees, actually, now that I think about it. He is a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Good kicks. His takedown defense is actually not too bad. One of the bigger questions in this fight is pretty much how good is Vitor Belfort without TRT, and would he be able to get the wins that he did against the opposition that he did without TRT. From a physical, eye test thing, the guy looked huge. I mean, the guy, the guy looked like he was 20 years old again. He's a big guy in general, but and also he hasn't been fighting for a while, so I don't know what that says. If this fight goes 5 rounds, I gotta favor Weidman here. It just, he can box with Vitor. He's still gotta watch out though. That's the thing. If he boxes with him and he is a pressure fighter, he's gotta watch out. Vitor is, it's not just that he can blitz opponents or like throw a crazy head kick. The guy has really good reads on. He gets really good reads on his opponents. I believe it's either Jack Slack or Connor Rubush that was that did some technical analysis of Vitor's fights. Obviously, his reaction time is so much quicker now with the TRT, or at least supposedly quicker with the TRT. They're showing, oh yeah, like, you notice Rockhold is punching like this and doing these moves, so Vitor does this. Or Michael Bisping's doing this, and Vitor reads it, and he ends up doing this to counter it. So he's good at, I mean, to say TRT is really underestimating what Vitor has as a fighter, Like I said, the ability to to be able to read what an opponent can do and counter it to a point where he can knock out his opponents. That's a really good skill to have. Nonetheless, I'm gonna go with Chris Weidman, and I'm gonna say a finish. I want to actually go like ground and pound, especially in 5 rounds. So Chris Weidman TKO in the later rounds. I feel that Weidman, besides being able to box with Vitor, if he needs to, he can take him down and just beat him up, and may possibly sap his cardio, especially in the later rounds. Maybe get an opportunistic sub. Vitor has been subbed before by like guillotine by like Overeem, for example. But yeah, I'll go with Chris Weidman TKO victory. Next fight off that, Donald Cowboy Cerrone fights John the Bull Makdessi. Makdessi has a 13-3 record, 9 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by decision. 30 years old, he'll be the shorter fighter at 5'8". Trains out of TriStar. He is taking this fight on short notice. Original opponent was supposed to be Habib Nurmagomedov. He has a Taekwondo base, good kicks. But lately, his strength has been his boxing. He actually flashes a really good jab. Knocked out Shane Campbell in his last fight. And his takedown defense is pretty good. He is a bit questionable off his back, though. He's just never... The only time he was put on his back, he lost. Against Hallman. Donald Cerrone, 17-6 record with 1 no contest, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 15 wins by sub. 32 years old. He is the taller fighter at 5'11" on a 7-fight win streak, training out of Jackson Winklejohn. He's a strong kickboxer, particularly strong kicks. He'll kick to the head, body, or legs. His hands are improving, but his kicks are really what's the strength of him. His stand-up. He has a really good knee, too. He has a good step-in knee, and he uses that as a form of takedown defense. His chin is really good. His wrestling's both offensively and defensively has been greatly improving. He has strong Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills. He's really good off his back. Will throw a good triangle or armbar from his back. He's good at taking the back if he's on top. One of his biggest problems he's always been a slow starter. It's kind of funny that Cerrone is a cowboy and John is the bull. You know, it's almost kind of fitting in a sense. You know, I have to go with Cerrone here to probably replicate something that seems to be a weakness of Makdessi. You see it in the Njokwani fight, and even in the Shane Campbell fight. Guys that are taller that can kick well can utilize that range against Makdessi to great effect. I can see Cerrone doing a lot of kicks, getting out of the way, and just kind of working that kicking range on Makdessi. I think Makdessi could get a good first round on Cerrone, with Cerrone just being such a slow starter, and Makdessi also just having a good jab. One other thing that's really underestimated about Cerrone, the guy is very opportunistic. If he drops his opponent, he'll take the back and get a choke or go for like a guillotine or something. He is a very potent finisher if he gets his opponent on the ropes in any form. You know, it's just, oh, he's dropped momentarily. Oh, in the scramble. Okay, he's scrambling, but in the scramble he takes the back, chokes him out. But I am a bit wary, once again, to boxing, because like Adriano Martins, for example, or even like Barboza, I mean, they've managed to put fist to face on Cerrone, especially in the first round, until Cerrone knocked them out, you know, finished them. But I can see Makdessi putting fist to face. You know, it's just, I can see him utilizing his boxing to some effect on Cerrone. It really just depends if Cerrone can adjust and you know, go to work and find his rhythm. I think that he can. Makdessi's a pretty tough guy, so I'm going to say Donald Cerrone by decision. If not by decision, possibly by submission. I'm leaning more towards decision though. Next fight after that, Andrei the Pitbull Arlovski fights Travis Browne. Arlovski has a 23-10 record with 1 no contest, 16 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 7 losses by KO or TKO. 36 years old. He's 6'4", which he's actually the shorter fighter here. He's on a 4-fight win streak, training out of Jackson Winklejohn. He is a former UFC heavyweight champion with strong kickboxing, real heavy-handed. One of his problems though is he does have a tendency to brawl, especially if he gets hit clean. He reacts really badly when he gets hit clean. He'll back up in a straight line against a cage, and by then that's when he gets knocked out. You can watch like the Sergey Karatano fight, for example. Or else he gets hit clean and he just starts brawling, and then he'll get hit clean more. You can see it in the Anthony Rumble Johnson fight. But with Arlovski, he also has good takedown defense. Travis Browne, 17-2 record with 1 draw, 13 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. 32 years old. He's going to be the taller fighter at 6'7". He's training out of Glendale Fighting Club. I believe Ellenberger's training there right now, and of course Ronda Rousey trains there. He's a good kickboxer. He's kind of, what he lacks though, he's really heavy-handed. His takedown defense is really good, and his elbow grappling is greatly improving. See it in like the Brendan Shaw fight, for example. You know, he manages to drop him, passes the mount, and just beats him up. You know, he's getting better at passing the mount. Biggest problem with Browne would be that he lacks basics. You know, he'll throw some crazy kicks, or he throws like leaping, you know, like a leaping hook or something like that, but didn't really have a great basics game. I think That's why he's going to Glendale Fighting, to get more of a base, to get more basics in his boxing game. Nonetheless, this one's hard for me to call because I actually believe in Arlovski's resurgence in a way. Considering that he was not knocked out by Anthony Rumble Johnson, says a lot, because the fact of the matter is, for a while, it was Glass Chin Arlovski. And lately, he has not been getting KO'd or TKO'd. I think it's been said that your chin, in a sense, is part mental as well. I think mentally and confidence-wise, Arlovski's getting a lot better. Nonetheless, Travis Browne, just a younger fighter. He's going to be the taller fighter. Still a really heavy-handed guy. A guy with a good chin would get knocked out by Travis Browne. So that's the thing. I think Arlovski, though, is the more technically sound boxer, especially when he can really get his movement down, his combinations, and there's some in and outs. He could potentially beat Browne. Honestly, I think that there is some. If I were a betting man, I think there's some underdog value there. If he is the underdog, I don't know. I would imagine that he is. But I'm going to go with Travis Browne by knockout. I think that he's just going to catch him with something. I don't know what it is. Probably some sort of leaping left hook that the guy's he's so tall, and it's really hard to tell how far his range is. That I think he'll just eventually catch Arlovski or something. So Travis Browne for the win. As you can tell, I'm actually not super confident in it. I think one thing that does it for me is just the lack of basics with Browne. I think he's working on it, though, and I think that actually helps. Like you said, he's utilizing more of an uppercut against Shaw, which is nice. So, it seems like he's really trying to work on his hands a lot more. So Travis Browne by KO or TKO for the win. Next fight after that, Joseph Benavidez fights John Moraga. John Moraga, 16-3 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 8 wins by sub, 31 years old, a 2-fight win streak. Trains out of MMA Lab in Arizona Combat Sports. He has good stand-up. He's he's actually good everywhere. His stand-up's solid. Has some pop in his strikes. He's actually a pretty good wrestler, both offensively and defensively. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills aren't too bad. Joseph Benavidez, 21-4 record, 9 wins by KO or TKO, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 9 wins by sub. He's 30 years old on a 2-fight win streak, training out of Team Alpha Male. He's a strong wrestler with a really strong scrambling game. He's got a really strong guillotine. His stand-up is greatly improving, showing more heavy-handedness and knocking down and knocking out opponents as of late. And he has strong cardio as well. Moraga is one of those guys, like Lamas is like this, Misha Tate's like this, James Vick is starting to become like this. His strength isn't in his great technical acumen in any one aspect of MMA. Moraga is really opportunistic. I mean, he wasn't really winning the fight against Justin Scoggins, but he still managed to guillotine the guy, But I think there's a certain level of competition where that works, being opportunistic. And I don't think that's just going to work on Joseph Benavidez. I don't really see him catching him. I don't see him catching him on the ground. I think Benavidez is probably the better grappler, or scrambler at least. and just the fighter that's going to be more on John Moraga. So yeah, I'm actually going to probably go Joseph Benavidez submission here. Probably see if he can't get one of those patented guillotines on Moraga. So yeah, I'm going to go Joseph Benavidez by submission. I'm here. I think he's just a better fighter. Really, I think he's a better wrestler. He's a better overall grappler, and I think he has a better stand-up as well. So Joseph Benavidez by submission. Okay, on to the Fox Sports 1 prelims. John Dodson fights Zach Funsize Makovsky. Dodson has a 16-6 record, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. 30 years old on a 2-fight win streak, training out of Jackson Winklejohn. He is an Ultimate Fighter winner. He's a strong boxer with really heavy-handed for his weight division. And actually dropped champion Demetrius Johnson a couple of times when they fought. He has some strong takedown defense and strong counter wrestling. It's hard enough to take him down. It's hard enough to keep him down. He's real quick too. Zach Makovsky, 19-5 record, 1 win by TKO, 6 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by submission. 32 years old, training out of Philadelphia Fight Factory. He's a former Bellator bantamweight champion. He's a good wrestler. He has a great snatch single leg. I love watching this guy hit single legs on guys. You can see it in his last fight actually against Tim Elliott. Snatching that single leg all the time. He's a strong scrambler with good top control. His stand-up is improving. One of the biggest knocks against Makovsky, not a finisher. He's just not a potent finisher on the feet. And even on the ground, he's just not much. He's not this huge threat to finish his opponent. With that said, I got to go with John Dodson. It's just, I think he can outstrike Makovsky. I think that he can defend his takedowns, and he's just a more potent finisher. By not being a finisher, you're giving the opponent more chances to finish you, essentially. And John Dodson is a good finisher, So with that said, John Dodson by KO or TKO. Yeah. Next fight I thought, Josh Burkman fights stun gun Dong Hyun Kim. Kim has a 19-3 record with 1 draw and 1 no contest, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He also has 3 losses by KO or TKO. 33 years old. He's actually going to be a taller fighter at 6'1". He has strong judo with really strong top control. Stand-up is improving. However, he's electing to brawl instead of grapple these days. Josh Burkman, 27-10 record with 1 no contest, 7 wins by KO or TKO, 10 wins by sub. He also has 6 losses by submission. 34 years old. Like I said, he's going to be a shorter fighter at 5'10". Trains out of Pit Elevated. Stand-up's good. His boxing's greatly improving these days. Been knocking out guys, showing heavy-handedness. His overall grappling game is good as well. And he's got a good chin. I mean, Hector Lombard could not put him away. I would be more certain of this fight if Dong Hyun Kim was utilizing his grappling a lot more. Now that he's brawling more, I think it lowers his chances, especially against a guy like Burkman. I think he'll brawl with stun gun. And I can see Burkman actually getting the knockout if stun gun elects to brawl with him. Again, I was originally going to go stun gun, but I actually just almost talked myself out of it. I kind of just talked myself out of it almost. I still think stun gun's the better fighter here, though. I really do. This is a good fight. It's winnable by Burkman, especially with the way that stun gun's fighting. I can't really see Stun Gun knocking out Burkman, but I can see Burkman knocking out Stun Gun. So, oof. I can only hope that Dong Hyun Kim utilizes his judo and takes the fight to the ground if need be. Wow, yeah, I'm kind of talking myself out of this. I'll still go Stun Gun here, hoping that he utilizes his grappling game on Burkman. Not super confident in this pick. As you can see, I've kind of almost talked myself out of this pick because of the way that Dong Hyun Kim has been fighting as of late, electing to stand and kind of not even be super technical. He's kind of just brawling. Like, he's crazy, you know, like take one to give one type of brawler. And that's not a good recipe for success against Burkman, actually. I'm banking that Kim will utilize his grappling here again. If that's the case, then he has a much better chance here. Dong Hyun Kim by decision. Not confident in this pick at all. At all now. You know? Next fight after that, Uriah Hall fights Rafael Natal. Natal has a 19-6 record with 1 draw, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 8 wins by sub. Has 4 losses by KO or TKO, 32 years old, on a 2-fight win streak, training out of Renzo Gracie. He is a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Stand-up's actually greatly improving. His cardio is a bit questionable. Uriah Hall, 10-4 record, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. 30 years old on a 3-fight win streak. He has unorthodox stand-up, pretty heavy-handed. He has good kicks, and his takedown defense is actually pretty solid. I think Hall has put it together now as best that he can. You know, he's on a good win streak. You know, fought through the pain of like dislocating his toe and still fighting through it. And Natal is a good opponent to really test to see where he's at. Natal actually looked really good against Tom Watson. He's a guy that, what I like to say, brain farts in the middle of fights. I mean, this is a guy that will like win fights against like Andrew Craig. He's winning, beating him alive, out grappling him, whatever. And then he gets head kick KO'd, and it's like, oh, Natal. You know, it's like, in his last fight though, he fought a consistent game plan, and looked good. Showed some improved stand-up, fought good at range, and just looked pretty decent, actually. It just seemed a more consistent fighter. With that said, Hall still is pretty heavy-handed. I can see him catching Natal, whose chin is a bit questionable, you know. His cardio is also a bit questionable as well. Natal's is. So I'm going to go with Uriah Hall by KO or TKO. Next fight after that, Nina the Strina Ansaroff fights Thug Rose Namajunas. Rose Namajunas, 2-2 record with all 2 of her wins being by submission. She's only 22 years old on a 2-fight losing streak, losing to Tesha Torres and Carla Reese, most recently against Carla Esparza. Trains out of Grudge. She has unorthodox stand-up, will utilize things like a side kick, jump kick. You know, she'll do like jumping switch kick. She's actually good off her back. Has a knack to utilize the Kimura. You can watch the Evelyn Kagan fight. She'll throw up the triangle chokes off her back as well. Her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is good. Her takedown defense is really weak though. Other thing that works against Namajunas is she still does not have good basics. Nina Ansaroff, 6-4 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. She's 29 years old, training out of ATT. She's big for 115. She's actually fought most of her career at 125. Rose Namajunas is pretty small. I mean, not in the sense of like height, but just like in build for 115. Ansaroff has good stand-up, pretty heavy-handed for her weight class. Takedown defense is decent. You can see in her Juliana Lima fight, she's not that great off her back. She's pretty weak off her back. This one, I can imagine that Thug Rose is going to be the favorite in this fight. She's a more well-known fighter, especially coming out of The Ultimate Fighter, and she most recently fought for the title. If that's the case, like I said, I don't look at odds, but I can kind of surmise like who's the favorite and who's not. If that's the case, there's definitely upset potential here. I'm actually not overtly sold on Rose Namajunas. Her takedown defense is pretty weak. She lacks a lot of basics. Despite how unorthodox her stand-up is, she's not much. She's not like this huge knockout threat. Whereas Nina Ansaroff actually is more of a knockout threat. And while Rose is good off her back, this is actually a case of, and I've actually dealt with this, where someone's a really good she's a good, what I'd call a submission artist, but she's not what I would call a good positional grappler. And she's someone that can, you'll be in her guard, like Rose Namajunas' guard. She'll work that Chimera or triangle choke or whatnot, but she actually seems to have a hard time stopping the guard pass. I mean, I say it a lot too. Once the Carlos Esparza fight, something you learn as a white belt is a knee slide. And Carlos Esparza is just using a very simple white belt level knee slide, totally thwarted all of Rose Namajunas' submission attempts just with a simple knee slide. It's basics. Carlos Esparza has, despite, even though I'm not even that on Carlos Esparza, I've actually criticized her a couple times. What she has is very basic, and it works. It's very effective, and that's what made her win in the grappling against Namajunas. Just basics, Good takedowns, passes guard, use on a knee slide, pass the dominant position, took her back, With that said, though, Nina Ansaroff, I mean, the threat of Nina Ansaroff really is just in the stand-up. She's also the bigger fighter. So I don't know if Rose can actually take the fight to the ground. She might go for that flying armbar that she goes for a lot of times. I can't really see Rose winning in the stand-up against Ansaroff. But Ansaroff, even her stand-up, she doesn't always throw high volume, so that works against her, and she isn't that great of a grappler. And if Namajunas can somehow get the fight to the ground, she should be able to probably get an opportunistic sub on Ansaroff. I think she'll be able to somehow find a way to get the fight to the ground. That's really what I'm going for. Maybe she takes it back or something like that, like off a standing opportunity. I've seen Rose do that before. She did that against Emily Kagan, actually. So I'm going to go with Rose Namajunas by submission. Honest truth, the size thing has me worried, because I don't really see too many opportunities for Rose to take the fight to the ground. She's not a great takedown artist. She's a better athlete of the two. Her unorthodox stand-up could actually work pretty well against Ansaroff. So Ansaroff isn't like this greatly consistent fighter, like super solid or anything like that. She's decent, but not great. And at least with Namajunas, the other thing with her too, she's only 22, hasn't been fighting for a long time. She's someone that's probably going to show improvement from fight to fight. Rose Namajunas for the win. But obviously there are some things that I am wary of. Okay, on to the Fight Pass prelims. Mike Pyle fights Colby Covington. Colby Covington, 7-0, undefeated record. 5 wins by submission, 2 wins by decision. 27 years old, training out of ATT. He's a really strong wrestler, has all those accolades. He's got some good ground and pound. His stand-up is improving. And he is taking this fight on short notice. Sean Spencer was supposed to fight Mike Pyle. Mike Pyle, 26-10 record with 1 draw, 6 wins by KO TKO, 16 wins by sub. Also has 5 losses by KO TKO and 4 losses by submission. 39 years old, training out of Syndicate with the likes of there's actually a lot of good female fighters that train out there. Jamie Moyle and Roxanne Maldaferri train out there. I believe Vinny Magalash trains out of Syndicate. There's actually, it's really coming up these days. It's actually a really good camp. Now, there's a lot of fighters training out of Syndicate. He is a veteran. His stand-up's greatly improving. He has strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. He's really crafty, actually, with his ground game. He's good off his back. He's a good wrestler himself. More particularly, he has good clinch takedowns. His chin, though, is kind of weak. Now, this is an interesting matchup just because Mike Pyle is really good at... He has beaten prospects before. Either prospects beat him or he beats them. I mean, he beat John Hathaway when he was really coming up. He has a win over Rick Story. And Rick Story's a tough guy to beat. That's the thing with Pyle. But he'll get knocked out too. You know, guys like Jordan Mean, Roy McDonald, Matt Browne. Oh man, it's a knockout Mike Pyle. So far, Colby Covington has not shown to be a great knockout threat on the feet. That helps Pyle. Colby might be the better wrestler, but Pyle is probably just better on the ground. He's more crafty down there. He knows what to do down there. And Covington's level of competition has not been nearly as strong as Mike Pyle's. Mike Pyle's fought like the who's who of MMA. Colby Covington, I mean, his best win against, I don't even remember the guy's name. He's from Brazil, and he looked just decent. He didn't even look that great. I mean, I can't really see Colby Covington getting the sub. Maybe he gets a ground and pound victory, but I see Mike Pyle taking this. He's just a crafty guy. I can see him, maybe even getting a dominant position on the ground. Possibly even have the better stand up here. So I'll go Mike Pyle. I'll go Mike Pyle. I don't know if he can get a finish here. Maybe he can. He looks for it. That's for sure. He definitely looks for finishes. I'll just go Mike Pyle decision here. Like I said, he's too much of a crafty veteran. Colby Covington, I think very highly of this guy. I think of him as something of a blue chip prospect. He can win this fight, but he's also taking this fight on short notice, which could work against him. And even his strength in wrestling and grappling, Mike Pyle is very good at wrestling and grappling himself. Mike Pyle by decision. Next fight, Leo Kuntz fights Islam Makhachev. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I'll just say Makhachev. Islam has an 11-0 undefeated record. 2 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by sub. 23 years old. It is his first fight in the UFC. He is a Russian combat sambo champion. He's a strong wrestler. He has high impact slams. He's a good scrambler. He has strong ground and pound. Stand-up's a bit reckless in the sense that he has that real combat sambo style of striking, where he kind of wings punches, kind of like Khabib Nurmagomedov, even Rustam Khabilov kind of has this. They kind of wing punches, but they're it's surprisingly effective. Leo Kuntz, 17-1 record with 1 draw. 7 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by sub. He's 31 years old on a 5-fight win streak, training out of ATT. It is his first fight in the UFC. He has a good stand-up. From what I saw 2 fights of his. He was kind of a one-sided fighter, though. I believe he's orthodox, if I'm not mistaken. And he threw a good leg kick. But he threw a lot of single strikes for my liking. I saw Islam Makhachev's second fight against Alexander Bezeha. Popo Bezeha. Wait, no. Was it? No, that's Lavon Makhachev. My bad. I saw his fights. Yeah, I was thinking of Lavon Makhachev. Singing Lavon. I saw Islam's fights. I did see his fights though. I'm mixing them together now. I saw 2 of his fights. One against Mansour. He's a French fighter. This guy named Mansour something. Barboni or something like that. And I saw another one of his fights. One thing that was criticized about him is he should be. I don't know what weight class this is. But if it's at light, he usually fights at lightweight, but he should probably be fighting at featherweight because he's not that big for a weight class. But I liked what I saw from Islam here. Really good single leg takedown. I really liked his single leg takedown game and his overall takedown game in general. His top control is not that good. He is a guy that will lose. Guys can reverse him or get out of dominant positions from him and get to better positions. He is a good scrambler though. I'm gonna go with Islam Makhachev by decision. I think that he can use his superior wrestling, get some snatch singles on Leo Kuntz. From what I saw from Leo Kuntz, like I said, he seemed like a one-sided fighter. He threw a lot of his rear hand strikes and rear leg kicks. Didn't seem too bad on the ground, but it wasn't like ultra impressive. So Islam Makhachev by decision. And finally, Josh Sampo fights Justin Scoggins. Sampo has an 11-4 record, 6 wins by submission, 5 wins by decision, 30 years old on a 2-fight losing streak. He's a good wrestler with good top control. He's also a pretty good scrambler. Stand-up, I'd say, is pretty average. Justin Scoggins, 9-2 record, 6 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. Only 23 years old on a 2-fight losing streak. Losing to Dodson Ortiz in a fight I thought he should have won. And John Moraga. In a fight he was winning until he lost it and just got caught in a guillotine. He trains out of ATT. Scoggins is a pretty strong wrestler. He has strong cardio, a karate style stand-up with good kicks, and a good ground and pound as well. Despite his losses, I'm still really high on Justin Scoggins. I think of him as a blue chip prospect. I think he probably has a better stand-up than Sampo. He's a good wrestler in his own right. And yeah, I'll go with Justin Scoggins. I'll go safe route by decision. Okay, to recap the main card, I have Anthony Johnson beating Daniel Cormier, Chris Weidman beating Vitor Belfort, Donald Cerrone over John Makdessi, Travis Browne over Andrei Arlovski, Joseph Benavidez beating John Moraga. Fox Sports 1 prelims, I have John Dodson over Zach Makovsky, Dong-Hyun Kim over Josh Burkman, Uriah Hall beating Rafael Natal, Rose Namajunas over Nina Ansaroff. On the Fight Pass prelims, I have Mike Pyle over Colby Covington, Islam Makhachev over Leo Kuntz, and Justin Scoggins beating Josh Sampo. So that's it for my predictions for UFC 187, Cormier versus Johnson. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.